Hello there, this is Sue Simmons of Equinox Family Consulting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, if you've ever been stuck and you want to know how to get unstuck, I'm here to help you with that. So, what does it mean to be stuck? What does it mean to you to be stuck? Any thoughts on that? Jessica. Oh, my thoughts on CBD oil. I'm not an expert, but and it's a little off topic. But I've heard great things. I really have. There are different combinations, and so it's not. There's no one size fits all. You have to know what you're after and know your stuff before you go buy it. So getting on the same page with husband. Yeah. So you're stuck in getting on the same page with your husband. Got it. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I've been there too. So, okay, no problem, Jessica. Don't go away. So, we love our kids more than anything, right? We are all here. Teresa, hey, means that I don't know what the right way to react to behaviors is and to figure out what my child is seeking. Right. But the thing that I'd like to tell you about that, Teresa, is that you're on the right track. That you may still feel stuck about that, and stick around because I think what I have to say will help you. Okay, but that's great. And so being stuck means different things to different people. And we feel stuck at different times in our life. And of course, as the parent of a child with autism, it's really easy to feel stuck because we often, we don't know what to do, what the right course of action is. We feel like we're not doing things well. We feel run down, tired, like we're not caring for ourselves. It's very, very easy to feel stuck. Would you agree with this? Like, of all the parents on the planet, I think that we are in the category of being very prone to feeling stuck. So there are times, I think, as a parent where we tend to, yes, all of that, right? Right? We tend to want to go, rather than stop and go within and really examine our thoughts and our feelings, because our feelings can really feel shitty, right? Our feelings can be very painful because we want to do the best for our kids and we often don't know what to do. Yeah, I know. I sure felt that. So I'm going to talk about a client I'm going to call her Joan, and I'm going to use her example and walk you through how she got unstuck. I always feel stuck when my son has tantrums. It seems like the more I pay attention to how he acts out, so I ignore him. Do you think that's the right thing to do? You know what? There's no one size fits all, for sure, Jessica. But the best thing to do is to try to get underneath, to think about what's underneath that behavior. Why is it happening? Why is he doing it? And there can be all kinds of reasons, for sure. I hope that's helpful. I can't, there are times when we need to disregard what's going on, and there are times we need to empathize. Empathy is a very, very powerful response to our kids. Danielle, oh, I know. Tantrums are so hard. Yeah. Oh, ODD? Okay, yeah. I'm not going to go into the ODD thing because I have kind of specific thoughts on it where different kids are concerned. So so clearly we all get stuck, right? We all get stuck for different reasons. But what I want to suggest to you is being stuck is a state of mind. So my client, Joan, she came to me, like we'd been working together for a little while, and she, finally came out and said, like, I feel stuck. Like, I can't do what you're suggesting. I just don't know what to do. So the one thing that I know for sure is that, this client of mine, Joan, who I adore, is a great mom. Great mom, dedicated, funny, really worked hard to support her kids. And, she really, really, really wanted to do the right thing. But she was stuck in this place of like paralysis, right? Have you ever felt that paralysis where you just can't even do anything because you're so stuck? And she was getting headaches. So being stuck is like an emotional state, but it can also be physical because of all the stress that we're holding in our body. So she was having really bad headaches, and I've had a number of clients that have had headaches. Now, I wasn't a headache person, but I would get stomach issues. So here's what I want to ask you. So she was very disconnected. She was very disconnected from her body. She was really in her head, right? She had these thought loops that would go around and around and around, right? Oh, thank you for the love. And she just could not get out of her head. So I want to ask you something. So let's think about how Joan was thinking in her head, right? How she was feeling in her body as a result of that. I want you to think about how she was showing up for her kids. Now, she has 3 kids, 2 boys on the spectrum. Now, imagine with all of that going on in her head, how she was showing up for her kids. Was she playful? What do you think? Yes or no? Was she playful? Was she engaged? Was she resourceful? Was she, mentally present? Yeah, of course, she was exhausted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, of course she wasn't, right? Because she was so focused on what was going on in her head that was impacting her body, right? Yeah, and it was affecting how she was showing up for her kids. So no, she was worried, sad, exactly, always thinking of something else. She wasn't even mentally available for her kids. She was flat, she was distant, she was disengaged, she was irate, she would get angry easily, right? And that's natural, right? We're human beings. And so it's so important to understand what's going on in our minds, right? Because it affects everything. So what I want you to think about is when you're in that state of being stuck, right? Whatever it means to you, you lose sight of who you really are when you're your best. You lose sight of what you're truly capable of. And when you're in that state of being stuck, you're in this paralyzed place where you can't really push yourself beyond your comfort zone into the unknown, because even though you don't like where you are, it's familiar. It's painful, but it's something that you know. And that's kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around, but it's very, very true. We don't like where we are, but we also don't want to go out there. Hi, Deb. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, so we're talking about how to get unstuck. So here's what was going on for Joan. Okay, so she was telling herself a story about her circumstances. And in her story, as it is for all of us, she was the victim. Right? We're always the victim of our own stories, right? These things that we tell ourselves in our mind. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not the truth. You may feel it's true because that's the way our minds work. It's not the truth. It's what you're feeling, and we believe what we think a lot of the time, but it is not the truth, because when you're in a more positive place, you're a very different person. You're more resourceful. You're more you're more resilient. But when you're in that stuck place, you're just very small, right? You're fearful. You're contracted. So she did not want to take action. Joan did not want to take action. None of us do when we're stuck. Thank you. None of us do, right? Do you get this? Who wants to jump out, when we're just in this place where we just want to stay small? But you have to ask yourself, what's more painful? Yeah, I know. Deanna, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I wish you were not right. So we have to ask ourselves, is it more painful to stay in that stuck place, or is it more painful to do something about it? So Joan was not taking action. She was staying in that uncomfortable yet comfortable, familiar place. And she was sort of like, she was feeding her brain the wrong thing. She was watching, I forget what that channel is called, CP24 or something like that, loopy news channel that's all bad news. She was watching shows about murders and stuff like that. And she was it was toxic to her brain. And she was hanging out with people who were disempowering. So she was like, everything that was going on inside her mind and body was negative, and everything that she was feeding her mind was negative. So that was reinforcing that feeling of being stuck. I know I've been there so many times. And the other thing that she was doing is she was listening to her beliefs from being a child about not being good enough, about you always do this or you never do that. So essentially what she was doing is she was like pouring gasoline on the fire and making everything worse. And that's just what we do as human beings when we're stuck in this negative place. So I want you to think a little bit about, our bodies and what we do when we're stuck, because, well, there's a reason for this. Okay, just hold on for a sec. So you're sitting across from someone who's really depressed and really down. Deanna, I'm sorry. But don't worry, it's going to get more positive, okay? I promise. I promise. Sweet friend, hang in there. It's hard to face the truth sometimes, but it's really important if we want to get unstuck. And we will. So think about our bodies, our physiology, when we're in a place of being stuck. Let's think about our breathing. Do we breathe deep or shallow? Deep or shallow breathing? What is our posture like? Do we sit like this with rounded back, or do we sit up straight? When we're stuck, what do we do? Is it like this or like this? Yep, exactly. Exactly. And our shoulders, are they back, strong, or are they down like this? They're down, right? They're down. Are you talking fast, energetically, or slow and kind of like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Right? Yeah, slumped. Exactly, CJ. Yeah. So what about your head? Is it down like this? No comments on the roots. Down, or is it up? I want you to think about your posture because there's a reason for this, okay? So here's the thing. One, I'm going to give you a couple solutions to get unstuck, but the fastest way to get unstuck is through our bodies, our physiology. And I want to tell you about a study that was done at Harvard not that long ago. And in this study, yes, exactly, Deb, right? Like you want to become smaller, not bigger, right? Because we don't want to be seen. We feel, we want to hide. So this study from Harvard talked about something called power positions. And it's really cool. In this study, they took women and men and they had them, the people that were stuck, they had them stand up like Wonder Woman. And I'm not joking, okay? Wonder Woman. Seriously. Shoulders back, standing tall, feet, firmly planted into the earth. Hands on the waist, like Wonder Woman. Non-confrontational. Exactly, right? So here's what they found. This is so cool. After 2 minutes of standing in that posture, shoulders back, hands on the hips, standing tall, feet firmly planted, breathing deep. After 2 minutes, the stress hormone cortisol was down by 18%. 18%. There was an increase in testosterone of 22%. That's the male hormone, so that's kind of like and these people were 33% more likely to make a decision rather than just being indecisive. So just doing this alone, taking 2 minutes, and I have done this so many times. The first time I heard it, I thought, you out of your gourd? Like, you want me just to put my shoulders back? But it works. It works. And here's the thing. Getting unstuck is a choice. And this is where my tough love comes in, sisters. You have a choice to do something about it. Okay, just wait, Deanna, I can. But when it comes to my son's diagnosis, I feel defeated. And yes, I know, you can't fix him. And we're not trying to fix our kids. But when I truly, sister, I get you, I feel you. However, if you are in that stuck place, are you truly able to support him and do what you can? Or are you more unavailable, more tuned out, more, when you're in that defeated place, you are very unresourceful, so you're not able to help your son as you would be and can be from a different place. I hope that makes sense. So just doing these, Deanna, yes, exactly, right? I know. And feeling defeated is easy, right? Feeling defeated is easy, but you have a choice. You truly, truly do. Yes, you have a choice. You can do what you can. And, you know, this is what I'm all about. Yes, Deanna, yeah. You can do what you can. And what, if you're new to me, what you may not know is that I am all about what parents can do and the power that you have, which is tremendous, way more than any therapist. And I mean that. So I'm getting off topic. I get so passionate about this. So back to Joan. So the other thing I had talked about is I'm doing the 6-week Getting Unstuck tapping group in my Facebook group. And if you're not a member, I want you to join. It's super reasonable. I think it's like $120 for 6 weeks. And I'm going to help the moms that join get unstuck. So you're learning how, but I want to support you if you're interested in joining me. So back to Joan. So I had a couple of tapping, like one-on-one. I'm a certified practitioner. So I had some 2 tapping sessions with her. And here's the thing. These thoughts that go around and around and around and around in our heads, if we don't challenge them, they will win. If we don't challenge those thoughts, they will win. And so if you don't take the time, I'm loving you. Aw, Deanna. Aw, thank you. If you don't take the time to think about what's going on in your head, it will defeat you. Doesn't mean your life will be over, but it will not be the way you want it. Because our minds are there to keep us safe, okay? So what happened is after a couple of tapping sessions with Joan, I was challenging her on her beliefs. And so we're tapping. If you don't know EFT, next week, I'm going to do a talk about EFT. So make sure you come back next week. If you don't know about it, even if you do, come back. We're going to do some tapping together. So what she realized is that her beliefs, what she was believing to be true about herself, was ridiculous. I find that when I get stuck and feel like hiding from my kids, the best thing I can do, I feel like hiding, the best thing I can do at the time, I take an activity and spend quality time with them instead of hiding. Yes, exactly. Yep, exactly. But you need to give yourself a little bit of time too, right? But so you're on the right track. I love what you're saying. This is awesome. Yes, thank you, Deanna. So, you know, Joan and I wound up kind of joking around a little bit about, oh yeah, I can tell that you're a horrible mom, right? Because, you make time to take your kids to the cottage, to do canoeing with them, to play games, to do all these things, but clearly you're a terrible mom, right? And so she got to the point where she saw how ridiculous her beliefs were. And see, here's the thing. There's a little window into seeing how ridiculous our beliefs are, you can't unsee that. It's not like your life is going to be perfect, but you can't, you see something, you can't unsee it. So I was able to bring her back when she tried to dispute her beliefs or tried to, prove that they're true. So she began to see that she was really, really, really being held hostage and imprisoned in her own mind. And that was just so freeing for her. So we have to examine what we're thinking and believing about ourselves. And ultimately, it is not true. It is not true. And I have had so many years of practice with this that I can catch myself, but it's like building a muscle. You have to start where you are and be kind to yourself. So here's the thing. We need to be willing to be vulnerable and to be open enough to say, you know what, I'm really struggling. And speak to someone you trust, or speak to a higher power, whatever that is to you, a dear friend. You don't necessarily take all the advice you hear, but you have to open your heart and be willing to say, Deanna, how? I'm not sure what your how is referring to. Maybe you can explain. Being vulnerable, is that what you mean? If that's what you're referring to, it just means kind of like putting yourself out there and saying, you know what, I'm really struggling. But acknowledging it rather than being like this, right? Not being small, being like this and saying, I'm struggling. I need help. Support me. Give me guidance. I'm trying my best. So the biggest thing is challenging your thoughts. How do you reflect in a positive way? Challenging your thoughts, understanding how your thoughts are faulty, because they are. I would really suggest that you, if you're not part of our Facebook group, Deanna, that you join, and or be sure to come back next week, because tapping is evidence-based. It's, the science is a done deal. And by tapping, what it does is it sends a message to the amygdala, the part of your brain that is the fight or flight part. But it's not going to happen all at once, sweetie. It's not, okay? Because it's like, our thoughts are like a groove in a record. That groove happens over time. And so, yes. And so to change those thoughts, it requires practice and support and time. So it doesn't happen overnight. So you need to understand that. I'm not trying to pretend that, presto, you're fixed. It doesn't work like that. But just understanding this is the first step. So getting unstuck is so doable, but we have to understand what's gotten us stuck, right? And so, the steps are being able to look at what we're thinking, being kind to ourselves, right? Because we are the moms of our beautiful children, and we love our kids. And, if I came so close to crashing a couple of times, I don't even like to think about it. But a friend of my bestie gave me a whack upside the head and said, you know, if you were the pilot of a plane and your son was in the back, he would be doomed. And she was right. I had to start taking care of myself. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much for being with me. Do you have any last questions? And by the way, if you want to send this to anyone who needs this, I would love that. If you have any questions after the fact, I'm so grateful that you were here. Sorry, just got a phone call. And I want to see you back here next week so that I can tell you more about EFT. Okay? Deanna, you're so welcome. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next week.